Hey!
Hey dude, don't do that. If you're gonna throw something at Jason, don't throw it at the camera, throw it at his face, okay?
What?
Yeah, I mean, that camera's expensive. Hey guys, welcome back to another vlog. Ryan Wilson here from Predator Inc. Here at the shop, we do 410s, meaning we work 4 days a week, 10-hour days, Monday through Thursday. And then on Friday, doing a bunch of overtime work, and we work on like special projects. One of which today, Flo is helping me out on our shop truck. And I've got Josh in the back wandering around, but he's working on the fuel cell for it. We should be able to drop this thing down pretty soon. Fuel tank is about done. Flo is getting ready and prepping the control arm and the upper spring perch to remove that system so we can test fit our prototype shock. Pretty exciting. We're gonna be putting our first prototype shock system onto our truck. These are remote reservoirs, 2.5 inch, way stronger, way heavier duty than the factory stuff. They look pretty cool, but beyond that, what does it mean? The remote reservoirs give a lot more fluid to the whole shock system and reduces shock fade. So without a remote reservoir, meaning this guy right here, it's an additional reservoir, it allows fluid to interchange through the system here, and it builds up this froth over time. And that froth creates shock fade. So you've probably heard that term, shock fade, and that's where the valving doesn't work correctly. It gets a little soft and spongy. You probably have noticed that on the H1 Hummer because it is such a heavy vehicle. Just daily driving the vehicle, you're gonna get shock fade out of it. With the remote reservoir, it adds a tremendous amount of fluid inside this reservoir system right here. And you don't get that shock fade. You don't get that frothing or that mixing inside the reservoir. We also have these guys custom valved specifically for the weight of the truck. Once we start driving, we'll do a tremendous amount of test driving, see if we need to make any fine-tuned changes on the valving, and then they'll be available here shortly. One of the problems we're running into is with the remote reservoir is getting this guy up through the upper spring perch. So Flo's working on that right now. We're popping off the upper spring perch. We're hoping that we don't have to replace the upper perch up here, but we may have to build a whole new custom mount up there. Again, we're hoping it slides through the back, so we'll be test fitting that here in just a couple minutes.
So in order to remove the spring perch, you have to remove ball joint with the hub, or remove the shock, then drop the lower control arm. But as Josh is welding over there, I'm trying to get as much done right here on the air before I have to bring the truck down to the ground and use the floor jack to compress the spring so I can release the shock out of there and release the lower control arm so I can slide the reservoir through the perch and then mount the whole shock.
Hey, I'm building something for you. Don't judge. Yeah.
Perfect.
It's a new invention. What was that cartoon figure that had like the belly that would glow?
The Care Bears.
Yeah, dude. We got Bato Bear right over here. I don't think it's gonna go through, do you? Yeah, I guess let's just pop it off, but you can't, you're right, dude. You can't get in there. You'd have to cut that, huh?
You would have to go through here.
Unless you cut that section out, huh?
Unless you cut that section out. That's the section where the spring sits in.
You could hole saw that piece out and then have like a CNC'd cap that goes on there that fully welds it in and boxes it in place. So what we're trying to do is, this guy's got a mount up here, right? So it's gonna mount in place here. We've got to feed this reservoir through here somehow. The problem is there's no way for it to slide through here. So I was hoping to slide it out the back through here, but now the spring's out of the way. There's just no way without doing some modifications to this. So we originally thought we were gonna have problems with it. I was kind of hoping that we wouldn't have any issues and we could just like sneak it through and make life easy, but I think we're gonna have problems. So we're talking about doing a whole new spring perch up here that has a relief cut on the back side here where you can feed this reservoir through there, or maybe modifying this spring perch. Because if we have to make this, and the problem is we're making a very limited production number of these. There's going to be 4 per kit, obviously. The quantity of this system that we're going to be selling, it's not like a Ford or a Chevy pickup truck. We're going to be selling, you know, if we're lucky, 10 a year, 20 a year, something like that, versus thousands. So if we're doing thousands, then yeah, we'll just make upper spring perches. But right now, I think we're going to look at modifying it somehow. Come in at that angle right there, so that holes like that.
What if we do that, and the hole saw, since the material here is, you know, too far down, just weld a piece of metal right through here, so it could just hold on to the center of the drill bit. And then
Dude, I think the amount of time to hole saw it down like that would work. But to hole saw it down, I got an idea. How about we take this and throw this on the mill the hole, perfect.
That sounds like a great option.
I like that.
Hole sawing that's gonna hurt like a motherfucker every time that thing.
So what we could do is have other Josh mill sets of these for us, then we weld on the piece and we do like an exchange program on these guys. He was talking about doing like a reinforcement bracket around there.
yeah, since we're cutting it out.
Because you lose like this material here, and then we do like a nice little reinforcement bracket that goes around and weld it on, and then we have the whole set ready to go. It includes these guys, but it's an exchange.
Yeah, the exchange is the best option. Get a few sets of cores and then have customers send theirs in, and as soon as we get it, we send them a new set.
Don't we still have the upper ones from that red truck that we took apart?
Yeah,
So we can start with
so we'll do those first.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so we got a game plan. Monday, on it. Stay tuned. So it is Monday, back in the shop, ready to roll. Last week we got a lot of headway on this truck here, getting the new shocks mocked up and running into a problem, obviously getting this guy set up, this upper spring perch, to figured out so that we can mount this remote reservoir shock. This thing's gonna be a huge improvement. To make the suspension operate correctly, you really need to have something in this size range, the 2.5s, with a remote reservoir. But the problem with that is this truck was never designed for that type of shock system. Literally, I got one right here. This is the factory one that came out. This thing's just garbage in my opinion. There's just not enough fluid inside here to stay consistent and keep temperatures down. So we've got the remote reservoir setup, but now running into this problem here with the upper spring perch. We grabbed another used upper spring perch just to take a look at it. The factory one is still in place up there. And it gave me a chance to think about this. There's a couple options. One would be cutting this area right here, sliding it through, but then you're gonna lose this section here, the spring mount. I don't wanna do that. If we're gonna do anything on this, it's only gonna strengthen the integrity of this upper perch here. I think we're gonna have to get into a full CNC upper mount here. Maybe some high def plasma parts on here as well. And looking at this guy, it's definitely compromised because of all the rust that's on here. Take a look at that. You see all that rust in there? It's actually pitting down in here. And it's actually a little deformed in that area right there. So yeah, all of the weld joints are all rusting apart, which obviously it's compromised. So you're gonna have issues. And even inside of here, you've got these plates that are doubled up. You've got rusting going on in between those plates. So that's an issue. The shocks are a premium shock going on there that are valved correctly for the truck, especially the remote reservoirs. Really the next step up is like a coilover, which you can get into a bigger shock that route. However, the problem with the coilover is they suck on road. Like literally they're horrible to drive on the road. There's just so much travel and movement. You can make it through like desert racing conditions extremely fast, which is a lot of fun. If you're getting into that, grab yourself a Raptor or something like that. Have fun with that truck. But this thing will go everywhere the Raptor can't. And I think we're gonna have to get into an upper spring perch. So I'm gonna go over and grab Josh right now. CNC Josh, separate from Fab Josh, 2 different guys. So don't mix them up. But I'm gonna go grab Josh right now. Let's talk to him about getting these guys modeled up. This is Josh. Josh, that's
Hey guys.
the world. What I'm trying to do is mount this shock in this location. And the problem that we're running into is this remote reservoir. There's no way it'll fit through here. The other option would be machine out the ring itself here. Out of like billet steel, we can go a lot thicker, make it a lot stronger, and then have you design out the upper mount here, the plates that go up here, give it to Albie. He can like cut it all out with the high def plasma and then do all the brake bends, weld it all up. And I think that would be very effective too, keeping the cost down, but also offering something a lot stronger, a lot better than factory. So what are your thoughts? And this is literally, I just sprung it on him. You had no idea what I had in store for him today.
We could take the nitrogen out and slip the reservoir hose to the top.
See, the problem with that is the fluid inside here. There's a good chance we're gonna get air pockets in there and introduce air. I was hoping to do that, but having our customers install that and even a reputable shop install these shocks by breaking that, I'd just be concerned about them losing the effectiveness of the shock by getting air pockets inside there.
You're right, we would be taking a step back by undoing a perfectly fine shock just to make it work. The first step would be to 3D model the whole thing first.
Yeah.
And 3D print replica parts and spacers and whatnot, trying to get things as close as we can via the 3D printer.
But what if you brought like an end mill, like you could even bolt this thing down on the table and design a program and just notch this area out right here. And then that would be super easy, right?
Oh, that'd be a piece of cake. Even if we were to cut this on the mill, we'd still need a model of it. So I think that'd be the first thing to do.
Okay.
And then go from there. But I do like the idea of maybe cutting it out and just strengthening it and bringing it back together much stronger than stock.
I think you're right. So first step is going to be 3D model. So we'll get a 3D model of this thing, and then we can see what we're working with, and then model up a cut here. And the idea is a cut on this guy right here where the reservoir can slide up through here. So get that modeled up and let's see how big that is. Let's go ahead and do that. So model it up, please, and then let's print one up with the hole. Let's design out that hole. Let's see what we're looking at there. And then maybe we can change the model a little bit and look at like redesigning the whole thing.
For sure.
All right, cool, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
The first thing I do on every single model I do is identify the important datums, where the spring goes, where the shock goes, and where it bolts to the chassis are the 3 critical spots on this piece. I have already modeled up the spring perch, the lower area of the spring perch, and now I'm working on the second most important spot, or the top of the shock mounts. That is up here. After I get that done, I can then focus on the mounting points for the chassis. And after that point, the stamped sheet metal isn't super critical to get perfect, because as long as the shock fits, as long as the reservoir fits, I'm golden. Hopefully in a couple hours, I can have a fully complete 3D model and the 3D printer will be printing. That sounded stupid again too.
You gotta look here.
I keep looking up at you towards the end.
Yeah, look right here,
right here.
at the viewers.
Yep.
So you got a lot of pressure on you right now.
Yeah, I do, but every time I film something, I was the camera guy, not the guy talking, so it's a little out of the ordinary for me.
All right, so we got the tank out and just about ready to install it. There's actually some cool features that are inside this tank. Obviously, it's not just a welded up tank that's sitting here ready to go. Why don't you take them through the inside of what you've done in there?
All right, so here on the inside right here, you can see where the fuel pickup is at. It goes straight down inside the tank all the way to the bottom. What is essentially a little box that the fuel pickup sits in that'll hold fuel in it whenever you're on a side hill or climbing or descending a hill. That way, if you're low on fuel and your truck is not sitting flat, all the fuel won't run away from the pickup and you starve the truck of fuel and it winds up cutting out on you. So that'll hold fuel there and allow you to pick up fuel.
Sorry to interrupt, but it looks like a rat maze. It kind of comes in like this and it goes all the way in. Imagine like a piece of paper that kind of keeps on wrapping in and in and in. Once that fuel's in the center there, you can tilt it this way or that way, any direction you want to go, you're not going to lose any fuel.
Yep.
So that's how it holds that fuel in that pickup. And subsequently, it is a failure point on the factory fuel tank. It's actually glued in place, almost like a plastic rivet where the little prongs are melted into it. It holds that little tray in place. What happens is when that breaks free, then you have issues with starvation at lower range where you're maybe a quarter tank left and it's shutting off. It's just actually starving because all the fuel is kind of sloshed forward. So that's a normal problem on the H1 Hummer. Usually it happens, and we're seeing it now as a common failure point because these trucks are 20 plus years old.
We do have some baffling in the tank as well. We have one about here and then another one about here. What that does is it's basically a wall inside the fuel tank with a couple holes cut in it that under acceleration and braking, again, helps prevent fuel from sloshing around and starving the truck of fuel. So with the holes in there, it just slows the fuel down and it'll keep it from sloshing.
Definitely. All right, let's get this thing up in place. Dude, are you serious? There's not like a fast travel lift?
Nope.
You know what? You know what's hilarious, Josh?
What's that?
We don't actually have to be jacking this thing up. This thing weighs like 30 pounds. We could have just lifted it in place and bolted it in there.
Yeah. I'm used to having to do it by myself though.
That's absolutely ridiculous on our part, guys. I mean, oh.
There we go. Ryan actually wrenching on something.
I'm not wrenching, actually.
Oh, hand screwing something in.
I'm aligning. Damn it, Jason.
Why is it my fault?
Because you're the butt of all of our problems. We blame you for everything.
That's fine.
Even when we
That's
haven't,
my life.
even when we haven't seen you until Friday. All throughout the week, we're blaming you. Got the new shocks going in, remote reservoirs, full 2.5. These things are just massive. We're super excited about getting these guys in because we know how well they're gonna ride. Actually much better than the long travel kits. We've done a ton of those in the past, but I think this is gonna be the ticket on these trucks. A lot of work's gonna go into it, a lot of engineering from Josh on his side, modeling up that new upper spring perch, as well as getting it printed. Hopefully tonight he can get it printed. I know he's under the gun. It's now 3 o'clock. He's got literally 2 hours left to get this thing modeled and printed. I know he's trying hard, but I don't think he's gonna make it, but we'll see. So we'll see what's in store for tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and we'll get some more updates on this later this week. See you guys soon.